Holy smokes, folks. Welcome back one final time to the first season of Raining Cats and Dogs. We will be joined this evening by Sara Williams, Athletic Director for Kirksville. And as always, I am your host, Henry Jansen, sports writer for the Kirksville Daily Express. Before we talk to Sara this evening, I had something a little bit prepared for the end of the first season that I had written down, but it's a little bit over melodramatic and maybe a little bit saccharine, so I just decided that I would make it concise and sweet instead. Just wanted you guys to know whether this is the first time that you've tuned into this program or if you have been watching since we began this thing at the beginning of last semester. We appreciate you tremendously. We couldn't make this thing go without you guys. I said in the very first episode that this is a fledgling little program. We don't know what we're going to get, but we hope that this can be an institution for sports coverage in our part of the world, in Northeast Missouri, especially in the town of Kirksville. And I think that we have done nothing short of succeeded in that regard. I also want to thank all of the coaches that have come onto this program over the course of the past number of months. Sacrificing your time on a Monday evening at 7 p.m. to come talk to me is probably not exactly how you had the beginning of your week lined up, but we appreciate every moment that you've given us. One thing I've said on this program before, and I will say once more, is that my job is easy. When you get somebody to talk about something that they're passionate about and that they love, it's their conversation. It's made my life about as easy as possible. Joined now by Sara Williams. Sara, how are you doing this evening?
Great.
The first thing that I would ask you is, you've been doing this for a long time. What unique challenges did the 2025-2026 school year present you?
I think this is my 27th year in education, so it's year number 10 as AD. So I think, definitely the unique challenge that I face right now is obviously losing our conference. It's been a challenge in itself all year, just, the unknown question mark about where are you going, what are you doing? You always try to work those schedules all year round. You're trying to plan in advance and plan for the next 2-year cycle. So I think that question mark probably provided the most unique challenge. I think also just the last couple years has been tough to fill some coaching roles. Last year, I think we filled 19. This year, I think we're around that same mark, 17, 18 that we're replacing. So every year that just gets a little bit tougher just to find people who are capable and have the time to give up out of their schedule to come and make opportunities for our kids.
The conference landscape is something you knew I was going to ask you about. What has gone into that I've written that I had no doubt that we would find an equitable schedule for the upcoming years. And I think that you guys have done as good as what you could have done. Just talk about that entire process.
Yeah, I think, it's a lot harder than some people realize. I think some people think you do schedules and you flip a switch and it just happens. So I think blowing up the NCMC obviously creates just the issue of, if we go independent, for this next cycle, what do you do? Because everybody else has their schedule, and so everything is corresponding for them. And so if you're the only one blowing up your schedule, it's tough to find teams to fill those in with, because you have to have open dates the same. It's not that you can't go there, they can't come here. It's just, can you find an open date that works, that doesn't put contests 3 days in a row for someone? So, that's the first challenge is getting through to the next cycle. Luckily, like I said, we did a lot of work with trying to make something happen up Highway 63. Lots of AD hours and times and conversations. Just didn't pan out. Not the right time for some of the schools that were invited to the table at that one. Again, it's hard to make everybody's timeline match up when you're talking about different conferences blowing up. And if one school leaves, what does it do to that conference? And, so that's the biggest thing, is that there's so many different conferences that one team leaving that conference really changes that whole perspective. And so it's, again, the timeline, making sure that, can you make it happen all at the same time? Obviously, we wanted that to work. Up Highway 63 was a better option for us. It just didn't pan out. So then the superintendents came together and got something to work out with us joining this MEC. People ask me a lot, is it ideal? It's a place for us to call home right now, with some schools that offer the same sports as we have, same size. So I think it's going to be a great competitive, equitable conference for us to join.
One thing that I found interesting, the New Look Midland Empire Conference divisions, working the divisions out, was that a unique challenge?
I think obviously that one was probably the easiest thing to do just because it already aligned with bringing 4 schools in, and Chillicothe already being a major part of most of our schedules anyway. It just made sense for that East and West division to form, so I don't think that was necessarily the hardest part of it. I think right now, obviously, we haven't even gotten to scheduling yet, so we have our first AD meeting for the MEC, with all of us combined next week, so we'll see how that pans out, but, I think our biggest obviously, like, just travel concerns for that cross-divisional play is gonna be huge just for schools and for, the community that's traveling to your games and for students, like, who have to worry about school and everything else on top of just playing that sport.
On another note, 10 years is a long time. Before that, you were involved with both track coaching and basketball coaching, among other things. How long in total have you been with the school district?
So this is year, let's see, 2, 4, I was the 9 years without the school district, so then, I came here in 2008, started teaching and coaching here in 2008, so.
What were some of the interesting changes going from coaching, moving to administration, and some of the challenges you faced then? I know it's 10 years ago. I'm
Yeah,
not making you act like it's yesterday.
yeah. I think, some of the major things that have changed is just like when I was coaching basketball, we played Monday, Thursdays, and the boys played Tuesday, Fridays. And so one of the big changes was trying to get those quad nights happening so that, just getting bigger crowds for girls and being, I felt like it was kind of a disadvantage to girls to play Monday, Thursday, and boys always getting the Friday. So I was pretty passionate about trying to make that more equitable on that end. And so I think we've done a good job. The last cycle was really pretty good about getting Tuesday, Fridays for the basketball schedule. Again, it's going to change a little bit coming into this next cycle, just because when I started working on schedules, we were independent, and so that's a little tougher because people have openings that are just girls or just boys. So it might have to change a little bit moving forward with that. Um, I was involved in the softball program as well. That's pretty much stayed pretty consistent. I feel like there's not been a ton of changes on our softball schedule. Maybe just adding some more tournament games because Misha's allowed more games than it used to be, which is tough. I mean, there's no way that you could possibly fill 36 softball games on a schedule. That's just not possible. And you don't have the pitch count in softball, so it makes it a little tougher if you only have one pitcher that you're trying to throw a lot of games, especially for small schools. There's no way that that could happen. With us, if we have 2 or 3 pitchers, we might be able to make that work. But definitely some smaller class schools that you're playing, just they have that one dominant pitcher that they use, and just there's no one that can throw 36 games in a season. Sure, though. Track, I feel like it's pretty consistent as well. Just we change. Obviously, we're with outlier in all of the conference or the district alignments, and so obviously sometimes we go west, sometimes we go east, sometimes we go up the middle. We're really just that outlier who they put with whatever district needs somebody. So I think across the board that probably changes from year to year.
This time of year, as you come down the home stretch, approaching graduation, but still sports throughout the month, state track later on in the month. Hopefully, the girls' soccer team makes a deep push. You still have a lot of teams competing this time of year. What does the rest of the academic or the sports calendar look like?
Yeah, sure. So we're finishing up tennis right now. We're into team districts for tennis. Individual districts just happened. We just played district golf today. So we'll be moving on to, or we played conference golf today, sorry, district golf on Wednesday. So we're moving into the postseason for that. And it kind of just even like each sport kind of just tails off here at the end of May, but we keep going with soccer goes deep, baseball goes deep, track goes deep into the month of May. So obviously state tracks that last weekend in May. So, we'll have a good run. Like I said, we just had conference, track here, and the girls won conference, boys got second, so that was a good showing. So we expect great postseason run out of that team.
Talk a little bit about just what a fall to May cycle looks like for you. I think that'd be something a lot of people are curious about. What your duties are from full time at football games to the 2 longest seasons of the year with basketball and wrestling, and just what those 3 different cycles are like for you.
Yeah, so obviously fall is probably our busiest time, and that's just because we have so many sports going at the same time. So, moving into the fall, it's just tough. Like you have so many different things to pay attention to with heat acclimatization and having to follow those guidelines, moving practices due to the heat, finding places for people to practice. Obviously, our campus is under construction, so that adds another piece to that puzzle. But just overall, fall is just busy, and it's like something every night and you have supervision every night. So you got enough people that you're trying to spread us out and where are we going and what are we doing. Um, in the fall, you're also just trying to make sure you have winter and spring finalized. Like for the most part, you come into the school year with most of that done, but you have a few pieces that you're probably trying to finalize for those seasons, and just making sure that all your coaches um, have all of their trainings done. There's a ton of trainings that Mission makes you do, and every year that checklist seems to get a little bit more, and so it's tougher to make sure that everybody has all the pieces of the puzzle. If you get them all hired before August, that's a little easier because you can go into into that fall making sure everybody's good to go. But we had to hire some late ones last year, so that makes it a little tougher to make sure they don't fall through the cracks. Um, then as we go into the winter season, obviously I have middle school too, so I'm over the middle school. So the middle school season overlaps there that winter, that 6 weeks from November till Christmas break is pretty tough trying to get a practice schedule in because we just have so many things going at the same time. But wrestling and basketball, that season's not quite so bad. Supervision's a little easier because you only have the 2 seasons that you're supervising. 3 really now because we've added a full schedule for girls since it's grown so much. They're going a little bit farther and into more places. Um, but it's just long. So the winter is just a longer season. But again, you're just by that point your fall's over and you're trying to work on the next year's cycle and your rolling schedule's over. Um, and then in the spring, when you go into the spring, you're also working on academic eligibility. So that's also in the fall, but you're also working on academic eligibility to make sure all your kids are ready to go for the spring and everybody's eligible. And then when you get to the spring season, the biggest thing for the spring season is probably just you have spring break in the middle of your practices starting up to it. So you have to have 14 practices to be eligible. So that kind of families need to understand that if you commit to that spring sport, you're probably not getting a spring break, or if you do, you're not going to be eligible until the second, third week of the season because you don't have enough practices. And so people get frustrated with that. And so again, I get to be the one to tell them that, this is the rule and this is the policy. So I get to be I get to be the bearer of bad news a lot in that decision, but it is what it is. So I think for the most part, at the spring, then you're working on, like right now is tough because I've got to work on summer schedules and 20 contact days for everybody. So trying to put that piece together, making sure that we haven't had any overlap in our facilities or anything like that. I also deal with a little bit of the facility rentals for outside of school. So we deal with a lot with that. Also throughout the year, we do random drug testing. So I'm part of that. I do transportation for buses. I do field trip transportation or vehicle transportation, all that sort of stuff. So, there's just lots of little different stuff that you do all throughout the year, but it just cycles through. And so every day is different. And like I said, it goes fast through the days mostly. The seasons sometimes get long, but the days are fast just because you got so much coming at you.
For you, does it seem like the end of August was 2 lifetimes ago, or does it seem like yesterday?
Yeah. Yeah, it depends, sometimes, like I said, sometimes it's like, man, it's like this year just flew by, and other times I'm like, can this just get over already, but again, it's just because you don't have a breather really, so you like sometimes you have to just take that time. I try to take Sundays a lot just to um get away from things for just a little bit, just because, like I said, on my job, like everything's time sensitive. So if somebody needs a bus or, you just really do have to keep your cell phone on you at all times because if something goes wrong, they're contacting you by phone. And so a lot of times it's just like, okay, one more thing. But I think, again, deep down, when you think about it, it's just like everything I do is for students, giving students the opportunity, presenting opportunities for them to, do what they love and for coaches to do what they love. So again, at the end of the day, I'm just thankful to have that opportunity.
One thing that is really interesting that you said, I think, is that Misha has, certifications have changed over the course of the years. You have a wealth of experience. How has that landscape kind of changed for both you and coaches on the compliance side, especially like with you having been in your role on both sides of a global pandemic? I mean, just how have you seen things change in that regard?
Yeah, I think, um, obviously I'm on the mission board now too, so I also get the other piece of that. Like I get to look at like why we do what we do because sometimes, it is nice to be on that end of it and actually see because sometimes I'm like, why are we doing this? It doesn't make sense, looking from the outside in, but there's obviously reasons behind every policy, as all school districts and all administrators know, is there's usually a reason why you do something. You don't just put it out there. It's just like everybody's not educated on the reasons why. And so I think, the training and stuff is important. I think it's, that went to the ballot again this year. just now went through the bout, will be finalized by the board in June. Just can we do something to lower those standards? Not necessarily lower them in like that they don't need as much, but can we get them into the door and then still train them as they go? So there's a little process and it'll be put out this summer probably, but it's just coaches can now get in the door without having that 4-year degree, and then they can continue their education and their training each year so that it gives them the opportunity to be able to coach, just because school districts across the state are having a hard time filling positions with people that have 4-year degrees. Obviously, ideally for us, if the person's in the school district, it makes it a lot easier for us to manage. Um, doesn't mean that people outside the school district can't coach. I mean, if you have a 4-year degree, you can be a head coach. But it's hard to find somebody who has that time frame open, like from 3 to 5 to practice every day if you have a different kind of career. So, um, again, I think it's kind of been all over the place. It's like they made it stricter, they made more rules, but then it's like now they're realizing, can we fill them all? Is it feasible for us to say, or are we going to have to do so many exceptions that we might as well just make this the standard and then move from there. So it is important for the training. I think it's everybody would agree. We want people that are trained to be coaching our kids and be in contact with our kids. But I think it's, if you can just give them like, here's what you need to do on year one, here's what you need to do on year two. And then if they want to stick with it, they can keep that training updated.
Not necessarily making training more lax, just Misha acknowledging that there are only so many bodies out there more than anything.
Yeah, and the fact that you can get these people in the door, let them start coaching as long as they, there's still going to be that set standard. You have to have this, this, and this. But then like all these other trainings that they're requiring before, it's like maybe let them just do a couple of them each year, and build on that if they continue down that career. Because sometimes you get that 1-year person, and then it's like they did all this training, and then they only have the 1 year to give. We get that a lot with I would say our ATSU students. Who come in, some of their spouses are able to help us out a little bit. And so then it's like they have to do all this training, and we know they're only going to be with us for 2 years. So maybe if, and again, maybe sometimes we see the other side of that. We bring them in for the 2 years and we hook them and we get them in interested in, oh, they really like this path and this career. And we do bring them into education. So there's that side of it too.
Talk a little bit about the Misha board and how that functions. I thought it was super cool that you got to present a state championship plaque in football, things like that. What are some of your other obligations? What other events do you have to attend? And just how does that work?
Yeah, so we go to a lot of we obviously have our board meetings, that annual board meetings that we go to. But other than that, we get to go to a lot of the postseasons. I was able to go to State Theater this year as well and present the plaque there, so that was nice, to our Regers Theater. I get to go to any of the state tournaments that I want to go to, and then they ask me to go to some of them just to present different awards. And obviously, I just want people to know that I'm available if they have recommendations for Misha. Obviously, I can't change any of those policies myself. I've got some people to come to me and it's like, can't you do anything about this? And I was like, I can obviously take it to the advisory board. I can give them direction on what they should do as their next steps to get some change implemented. But obviously, I'm just one person and one vote. So I can't just, overturn something that they want or that they don't like. But obviously, we have a voice. And so that's been nice to just be down there. Like I said, also just I was in this role for a long time, like in coaching, and I think sometimes we're not educated about what they do or how the process works. And so I think obviously the Senate bill that just passed with homeschool, the Senate bill that's just passing with the having an oversight board, all those things, like people aren't educated about that or weren't educated. And so I think now just becoming more educated about things in the process and how it works, getting that out to the public is important.
And roles that need filled, and I'll let you go on this, Sarah Williams. Roles that need filled, what is a good way for anybody interested in coaching? I mean, what's a good avenue for them to go down? Who do they contact, and
Yeah.
how does that process begin?
So we have postings on our website. Obviously, we put it on our social media a lot because a lot of people follow social media now. But obviously, anyone can reach out to me at my email, swilliams@kirksville.k12.mo.us. They can give me a call at the high school, 660-665-4631, and inquire about any of the openings that we have coaching-wise. Sometimes even volunteering. If you want to volunteer with one of our programs, there are certain steps and guidelines that you have to do for that too. But I welcome any of that. Anybody who's interested or knows of people. Even just like sharing our posts out when we post that we have openings, just getting the word out. And Like I said, we do use a lot of Truman students, a lot ATSU spouses and stuff like that. So just, trying to hook into the community and find who's here that's willing and able to help us out.
Anything else you have to say about this upcoming summer or the upcoming 26-27 school year?
I think we're really excited about our campus being renovated and just the opportunities that presents with the Performing Arts Center and the new weight room that's about to open. So I think heading into 2026 and 2027 that, our schedules will be a little bit different just because of no conference, but I think we're headed in the right direction.
Well, best of luck the remainder of the way with track and tennis and golf and baseball and soccer and everything that all of May has to carry. Athletic Director, Coach Sara Williams, thank you very much for joining us this evening.
Thanks, Henry. Appreciate it.
Thank you again for joining us, you guys. It has been Raining Cats and Dogs. I have been your host, Henry Jansen. We will catch you guys again for the start of the academic year. And before I let you go one final time for the season, I would like to thank everybody else who has put their spirit into this program. A lot of people don't realize I don't do the bookings. I don't do the scheduling. Sara Williams, who we just talked to, helps us out getting coaches from Kirksville. Signe Coombs and Jacob Euler have been instrumental in getting us coaches from Truman State University, and Euler and his team have been phenomenal at production and post-production. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes outside of just me. We appreciate your outpouring of support. It's been Raining Cats and Dogs. Go Tigers and go Dogs, baby.